All right, well, sure enough, it is Thursday, the last day of the week, and last day of the week for these calls. Well, I guess last day of the week for that call is not really the last day of the week. And sure enough, we're going over trends. Um, Thankfully, trends are not super duper complicated. They're pretty self-explanatory, and I think everybody knows what the definition of a trend is. So this is just going to be really tips, tricks, and how to identify them. Um, Understanding trends is going to be super important to understanding break a structure and change a character. Um, Break a structure and change a character go hand in hand with trends, and frank honestly are fucking basically the inner workings of a trend. So cool. There's a downtrend. There's no. No, I'm kidding. The video's over. Which I mean, like low key, like this right here is all we need, and I can teach you everything you need to know. However, before we do all that fun stuff, there's a squirrel on my roof. A trend is not just a straight up. It is on a certain time frame, but a trend is not. And that's why if you look at a chart emoji or look at any sort of chart on any sort of company logo or whatever, always includes a retracement, right? It has a pullback. This is what makes an uptrend. Okay, it's a really bad drawing, but you're gonna have start point, extension, higher low, right? So low and low, and this is higher, so higher low, a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, until infinity or the trend changes. And the opposite is the truth as well, or true as well. Right? You have start point, extension, retracement, lower high, low and lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. All the way until infinity, or technically a change of character. Okay. Now, knowing, well, I guess I probably shouldn't have deleted that these are trends. Trends are not this, which is basically what we saw today. A whole lot of bullshit. Whole lot of chop. Right? Chop is not your friend. You have three types of market movements, in my opinion. And those are uptrend, downtrend, chop. Okay? Trend is your friend, chop is not. Okay? Fuck some chop. And I'm petty over today. Because today is chop. Right? This is a great example of today being full of shit and choppy. And like I said, I'm definitely still salty over today. Like look at that. How you gonna do that to me, bro? Whatever. So, chop, you don't want to be, is not your friend. Okay, chop is sideways. Chop is literally price is just going to the right. Okay, uptrend and downtrend are your friends. Those are created by higher lows, and higher highs, just over and over, or lower lows, lower highs to a downtrend. Okay, identifying a trend is pretty clear. So if we look, and to make it easier, I'll put it on a line chart off the rip. Look at the first half of this line chart that's in the box. Excuse me. We have a low, and then a high, and a low, and then a high, and a low, and a high, and a low, and a high, and a low, and a high, and then a lower low. Right? Besides the point, we'll get there later. This is an uptrend, right? And technically, yes, you could have marked out like, oh, this is like still down right here, X, Y, and Z. Yeah, there's plenty of different spots where you have these small retracements, but overall, this is an uptrend. Now, some might look at this and go, well, Sam, we had a lower low right there. We did. We absolutely did. So if we wanted to be super technical, I'm sure if we go to the 4-hour, it might even show it. Not really. Probably 2-hour chart, but I don't want to go there. Actually, I'm curious now. Yeah, 2-hour chart shows it perfectly. On the 2-hour chart, why that is a low is because you have the start point, the extension, the low, extension, the low, the extension, right? and then you shift into a downtrend, right? So on the certain chart time frames, you will see a trend. Okay. And as we just went to a 2 hour, it made more sense versus the 1 hour versus the 15-minute versus the whatever. Trends will look differently based on the time frames you're on. However, understanding the macro picture is more important than understanding the micro position or micro trend picture. I don't know the fucking word I use. I think picture. Okay. So if we'll use a 2 hour for this actually. I really don't ever use it, but screw it. It kind of makes this clean. If we look at this, we'll mark out using this start point, the low, and the low, right? And then we'll break it off into segments real quickly. Should only take me a minute. So that we can zoom down into the different time frames and go over what they look like on different time frames. Okay, because this is super important. And this is super important for how you find your entries. So in this trend, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 different legs. Okay. Let me see. I'll just delete these. Honestly, they're not that relevant. This is a 2 hour chart. So we have extension, retracement, extension, retracement, extension, retracement. Okay. If we go to a 15-minute chart and we look at the retracement, this is a downtrend. Why? Because we had start point, down, retracement, down, retracement, down, retracement, down, right? Sometimes you will see on the lower time frames downtrends inside of an uptrend, inside of the bigger macro trend. And these are super important because if you are hypothetically trying to catch a trade out of the extension, right? Let's say you want to be long, which in this scenario, absolutely do. Well, where do you want to be entering at? You want to be entering at a retracement to the upside. How do you find that? You go to a lower time frame and then find where we create a higher high, okay, where the trend changes. Let's say you see where we have extended well beyond the normal trend. We're at the top of the trend. Well, what's highly probable up here? A retracement, right? And you can, predicting the exact spot that it pivots is very low probability. You have very low odds of doing it. However, you can start to look at a trend and go, wow, we are really overdue for a retracement. I bet you one's coming soon, right? You can use some common sense behind them. On the daily time frame, you will always see a bigger trend, right? Right here. This is clear as fuck an uptrend. Inside of it, we're on the daily time frame. You really think there's not a single downtrend in this entire, there's one, and I'm just zooming in on a random one, right? And this is a 1 hour versus a daily, and an uptrend, then a downtrend, then an uptrend. However, on the higher time frames, it is still in an uptrend, right? Those are just retracement spots on the higher time frame. So, if you want to take notes, this is what I'd put. High time frame, uptrend. If I can type. That would be like what we're in, right? Retracements are low time frame, downtrends. Okay. And then you can put the opposite as well, right? If you really want to write out in full sentence, high time frame downtrends, retracements are low time frame uptrends. Okay. There's two pieces to the pie. Just because you're in an uptrend does not mean you cannot be in a downtrend. And you go to a 1 minute, you will find a downtrend inside of an uptrend, inside of a downtrend, right? It's like a fucking Russian doll. There's so many, and they're all built inside of each other based on the time frame you're on. Hopefully that makes some sense. Let me open my chat back up for you. Gamer, does that make any sort of sense real quick, since you're the only one in here? Cool. I love that. Okay. Now that we understand what a trend is and what it is consisted of, how you can use them is important. Why are they not deleting? I don't know what the hell's going on. Okay. Let's say hypothetically, you somehow catch a long right there. There's probably a way you could have caught that. And you want to target here. Go to 15-minute. Well, right off the bat, you get a nice healthy move higher. But then you start to notice, oh, we pulled back a little. Oh, we're spiking up. Okay. Right here, literally within this first second, you should know you are in an uptrend. Okay. The reason you need to consciously be aware that you are now in an uptrend, that you have the trend in your favor. You are trading with the trend, which is always better than the opposite. You always want to trade with the trend, not against the trend. Okay. Just makes everything harder. It's like cutting with the grain or shaving the grain instead of against it. You don't want them fucking ingrown hairs or whatever. Okay. So trading with the trend is your friend. Good. Trading against the trend, not your friend. Bad. But when you start to notice that you are in an uptrend, you should not be terrified when you see retracement. Okay, because you know that being in an uptrend means you will find retracements. For a short period of time, they will come against you. Okay? It will move against you because it has to. It is a trend. Understanding how they work can help you keep peace of mind while being inside of a trade. Who the hell is blowing my phone up? So that's super important just to be aware of how they move. Okay. Now, let's say hypothetically, I wonder if the market's even a good example of this right now because we're not in a trend. Get rid of this. So right here, let's just do this. This will work. It should work. Oh. Right here. Oh, did I do it again? I did. Wow. I don't want to talk about it. Take 3. Right here, we are in an uptrend. Start point, extension, retracement, extension, retracement, extension, retracement, right? Let's go to a lower time frame. Let's go to the 4 hour. Okay, what do we see here? Still an uptrend. Start point, extension, retracement, extension, retracement, right? Why? Start point, higher low, higher high. Okay, and then you could even just do this as 1 piece, 2 piece, 3, 4. So right here, 4 hours, still an uptrend. Let's go 1 hour. And this is where you're going to need this for daily bias when we get there. Okay, 1 hour. Here's where things start to change. And this is where we're getting a little ahead of ourselves and to break a structure and change character. Make this real freaking fat. And we're going to color it so it really pops. Do bright yellow. Right here, this is clearly an uptrend. I hope you all can see it. Oh, we literally have just gone over this like 6 times. Boom. This should be your retracement leg, right? It should. However, look at what happens. We create a lower low, okay? When you create a lower low or what is like a changing of trend, right? So if this is coming from a downtrend, you're creating the opposite of this, literally inverting this, which we can do in a second. Yeah. I know there's a way to do it. There it is. Invert scale. See, when you start to see it break through the highs on a downtrend, maybe something you should take note of, right? You should absolutely take note of when trend changes or when the first break and lower low in this scenario happens. Why? Because that is step 1 to a change of character. Or step 1 to trend change. And this is important. Would the wick be considered a change of character? Technically, yes. I believe it is. However, sometimes, and as we see right here, delete this, look at this wick. This technically created a lower low. However, look at what happened. We tried to create the downtrend, and this is where step 2 is even more important. Right here, you see this red blip? That is because at this moment, this was the decision point of are we going to create a downtrend or are we going to create the uptrend and continue with the uptrend. And that is why after we have step 1 right here, That's a really bad circle. Right here, we go to step 2, which is creating a lower high. Okay. So let me add on to this. Step 2. Second, how would I put this? I'm trying to think how I could word this. I guess you could just put second trend confirmation or something like this. I don't know exactly the terminology I would want to use for this. So that's what I would probably put it as, but let me explain it and then you guys can name it whatever you want. When you see the trend not go from here and up, why am I using that? Right, when we come down, this isn't just a blip because we create the lower high. At this point, this is where I'm like, oh cool, we are starting to form a downtrend. Which is why all frickin' day I had been bearish. Okay? So, if we delete everything, which there's a way to do it, I just don't remember how. There's a way to hide the chart. I don't remember how to do it. Right here, if this is what we have, what is likely to happen? If we have the question, will the highs and lows be plotted when Kindle changes from green to red and red to... Not always, no. Typically, yes, but not always. Right? And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. So if we have an extension move and then a retracement, what is this? Extension. Okay. What follows extension? A retracement. Okay. So what comes after extension, ideally, if we're continuing a downtrend? Extension. Retracement. Right? You see what I'm saying? Okay. Why this is relevant is if I unhide this, this is why I had been bearish. Because if we are going to stay in a downtrend, this is the retracement. Next should come the extension to the down. And this is simply finding a bias and, choosing what you think the market will want to do, right? So with that said, you can start to form just some ideas, right, of your own, right? Oh, I can see why this might go down. Now, on the contrary, in this example, let's say, hopefully you guys, step 1, step 2, right? Change the trend, creating a lower high or a lower low, right? Forming a downtrend. However you want to take notes of it, I recommend you take notes. You do you. Now, if let's say we were wrong and this is going to break the trend, okay, you would call this the start point, right? So right now, it's a really, really bad start point because it's just consolidation. But let's say hypothetically we go higher. Where do we show signs of it being an uptrend? When we create a higher high. Okay, so if this is currently the high, then to create a higher high, price must break past the higher high. Okay, for the 1 hour time frame. Okay, like I said, time frame and trends, they change everything up, but for that, it shows. Okay, so at this point, that's where I'm going to be. If we come up here and close, it's like, oh, we might be trying to change the structure and go back to an uptrend, right? DJ, or not DJ, I'm sorry, Gamer, does that make some sense so far? The trend change, how to identify it? And then I'll answer your question real quick. If you have questions, knock me out, hit me. Okay, though, I wonder if this will be a really good trade. A little bit, because I'm not seeing how to find higher highs or lower highs. Cool. I'm glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that. Look at this. Let's go back to a line chart. Everybody should know how to read a line chart. This is a high, right? I mean, this is the highest point in what you can see right now. Okay. And then let's call this, let's just say this is a straight line. Okay. And this would be a low. Did you see how price pivot? Okay. Now this is another high because it's on the top. Is it lower than the first high? Yes. Right. Okay. So let's keep going. Now here's the previous low. Here's the new low. Is this low lower than this one? Yes. Okay. So we are still in a downtrend, right? If I go to a 2-hour chart, how does it make it look? Yeah. A little different, right? But you can still get the general thesis of it being a downtrend. Let's go to 15 minutes. Maybe that shows more detail. Not really. I think 1 hour is nice. Okay. And then to show you the opposite, gamer. I'm trying to speed run this because I know you gotta leave soon. Right here. This is the lowest point we can see, right? Yeah. Okay. Then we create a high. I would just call all of this a high. Okay. And then we retrace ever so slightly. And then we create a low. This is the first low of the trend. And then we create a new high. Is this one higher than this? Yes. Cool. Okay. Then we create a low. Is this low higher than this one? Yes. So it's a higher low. And then we create a high. Is this high higher than this one? Yes. It's a higher high. Right? So it's literally just finding the pivot points. Now, to confirm what it is, I'm going to answer your first question because I think it will help. Right here, this might be easier. And we probably should have gone over this in the second call ever. Right here, when you see a red and a green candle, right? The technical high is here. Because this candle opened here, it traded higher. I guess this is just completely wrong, low-key, because it would have to be like that. Then price opened here, we continued higher, and then came down. So on a lower time frame, let's say this is the two candles I drew are 1 hour candles. If we went to a 5 minute, you would see that the clear high is the top of this wick. This is a 1 minute chart, and these are 1 minute candles. Then if you went down to a 15-second chart, you would see that this is the high, right? And the opposite is true as well. If I grab this and simply change this, and it doesn't always fit the description to a T, and I'll even make this one here. Oh, whatever. I'll just do it this way. Okay. Candle. This one closed right here. This one opened. We came down. Got bid back up. Remember, that's what a wick is. And we push higher. So this is a technical low, no matter the time frame. Okay. The lowest point between the two candles, red and green, right? So pivot. If it's a low, then it would be red to green. If it's a high, it'd be green to red, right? So if we look at this example right here, and I'll zoom all the way in, we have a green and then a red, okay? But the green has the highest point. So that would be the high. And then if I, see if I can make my life somewhat easier, go to a 5 minute chart, look at how that worked, okay? Here's another good example. We got two candles. Which one's higher? They're about the same, but we'll go with this one. Go to the 1 minute. Wow, look at that. And then look, we have the same thing again, right? And this would go, this keep going down like a Russian doll all the way to the 1 second chart and probably beyond that. What the hell just happened? Why did alert just go off? That's my question. So, does that answer your question by chance? At all? Yeah? Okay, cool deal. Right, and look, the opposite is true as well for the low. So right here we have the red and then the green. Lowest point, that would be the low. Because we came down, got lower, closed here, open, came down, pushed off. This is the lowest point. And this will be helpful in breaking structures. Right here, right? So you see 2 candles, red and then a green. Or green and then red. That's the high. Broke the highs. Bam. Okay. Okay, what about right here? A green and then a red. Okay. So this is technically a high. That was a high. Okay. Then we have a red and then a green. It's the lowest point. They're the same. So either one. Bam. So then we broke the highs. And then retraced. Right. So you can do this for every single candle you so happily want to. Using trend overall, it's pretty like pretty rough. Okay. So it's usually in hindsight, and then breaking down in like smaller time frames and looking for breaks of structure and everything will help confirm everything. Low key, you know what we might do? Let me see something. That's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. I'm gonna change the order. So we'll do break of structures and everything on Monday because they pair so well together. Right. So here's a low, right? So you have a red and then a green. That's the lowest point, right? We have a red and then a green. Here's a low. Right. Now, here's where it gets a little bit like you kind of just got to ball it, like eyeball it. Because you have a red, then a green. That is still technically a low. It's not like, and it doesn't have to be like perfectly green, red, red, green, etc. Right? Because that is still absolutely a low. And then we look here. What is this? We have a red and a green. That is a low. We go down to 5 minute. Look at that. It's a low of day. Bam. Go back to 1 hour. Find here. Here's a high. Green and then a red. Bam. That's the highest point. Let's go to the 5 minute. There's the high. Right? So using things like this can help identify the overall trends. Pivot points is what I would call them. Does that answer your question though, gamer? Do you got any more questions off of that? It's okay if you do. Cool. I'm glad. I'm really glad. And if you ever don't understand it, please tell me. Okay. So trends are super simple, and I don't want to get too much into it because at this point, to continue, we do have to go into like break a structure and change character. So if I can make it a short video, I'm perfectly okay with that. It's still 30-minute long video. Crazy. So let's go here. Let's go notes. Let's go. Is it really day 4 notes? Good Lord. Day 4 trends. I would do uptrend equals higher highs and lower and higher lows. Hello. Okay. Downtrend equals lower highs and lower lows. Okay. Chop equals both. Fuck chop. Feel free to put that in your notes. Okay. Then we can put trends do depend on time frames. Always start from a higher time frame and work your way down. And I'll do an example. It would be daily to 4 hour to hourly to 15 minute. Okay. And then what else did we go over? Yeah. Wait for two-step confirmation, just like you're signing into your bank, of a trend change. And then we'll do another example. We'll do currently in uptrend. Then we see a lower low get formed. This is step 1. We should wait for a lower high to form for confirmation. And then if you wanted another example, it would just be like in downtrend, we see a higher high get formed. This is step 1. We should wait for a higher low to form for confirmation. Okay. And then if you really want to put notes, real extra notes, I would do like trend is, or I guess what would I'd probably write identifying trend is step 1 to forming a biased no matter the timeline. Okay, so if you want to form a 15-minute bias, a today biased, or if you wanted to form a weekly biased or a year biased or wherever, no matter the timeline, trend is the first thing. Because, and this is the most important, this should probably be at the top, we should trade with the trend, not against it. Good Lord. Why am I forgetting how to spell against it? Okay. And then if you really want to put trend is our friend. Okay. And then add another note if you really want. Stay away from chop. So those are your notes that I would probably take. Okay, uptrend, higher highs, higher lows. Downtrend, lower highs, lower lows. Chop, both. Fuck chop. Cool. Trend does depend on time frame, right? So we notice that right off the rip. We might be in a daily uptrend inside of a daily retracement, and that's going to look like a 15-minute downtrend, right? So it's a Russian doll. But you always want to start on the higher time frame. I spelled always wrong. You can barely see that on this damn TV. You always want to start on the higher time frames and work your way down. Because if you are zooming in, and let's say you're on the daily, you're in an uptrend on the daily, but you're in a retracement on the daily, okay? That probably means we are in a downtrend on the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and the 15-minute. So if we are, for the day, in a downtrend, we probably want to be looking for shorts, okay? If we are just coming out of the retracement of a daily uptrend, then we probably want to be looking for longs because we are on an uptrend or starting to form an uptrend on the daily, the 4 hour, and then we're seeing a change of trend or a change of character on the 15-minute, the 1 hour and 15-minute and lower, right? So always start from the higher time frames just so you can understand the puzzle you are trying to build. It is your box when you're building the puzzle, okay? So example would be going from the daily 4 hour, 1 hour to 15-minute. Waiting, when you're looking for a trend to change, you wait for two-step confirmation, right? This is going to be, if we're coming out of an uptrend, we're looking for a lower low to get formed. Then we are waiting for a lower high to form, right? So it confirms that we are now creating a lower high coming out of an uptrend. Or the counterpart is in a downtrend. We are waiting to see a higher high get formed, step 1. Then we should wait for a higher low to form, right? For confirmation that this is not chop, okay? Identifying trends is absolutely step 1 to the basis, forming a basis, right? Just as I said, if it's a daily uptrend and we're, coming out of our daily retracement, then we probably want to be looking for uptrends because we're in an uptrend, aka you are forming a bias, right? So identifying trends, step 1 to forming a bias. You should always try to trade with the trend, okay? Now, something that kind of sucks about trend, we'll get there in a second, but yeah, trade with the trend, not against it. Trend's your friend, stay away from chop. Now, sometimes, and I see this all the time with newer traders, is what happens is they try to long here at the top. And they get stopped out. And then it comes down. And then they're like, oh, okay, it came down. This must be a short, right? And then they get stopped out, right? I guess technically if you're waiting for like the actual trend, it'd be like, then they try to short down here and they get stopped out, right? And then they let it come up and then they try to long it again because they're like, oh, it's going higher. And guess what happens? They get stopped out, right? This happens to all of us at some point or another. It sucks, but it is true. The way you need to think about this is you're on beat. Imagine music's playing, you're sitting there tapping your fucking finger to it. When you get off beat, are you going to try and change your beat while like you're going to continue to beat your finger but try to get back on pace with it? No, you need to stop, re-listen, boom, 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 boom. Get back with it. You know what I mean? You got to feel it. It's the same thing with a trend. If you ever find yourself, oh, you're like, fuck, why did I long at the highs? Well, don't think now I should short once it gets way the fuck down here, because technically this could be the retracement and we can go right back higher, right? Like we saw here. Tried to long here, you got failed, bam, come down here. Now you're like, oh, we're in a downtrend. I should short. No. You're off sync. You got to resync up with the market. You got to resync up with the tempo, the trend. Make that bitch your friend. Okay? And I'm going to give you guys a little insight. Look at this. If this truly is a trend change, like we literally just went over, this is going to be a fucking short. Right? So look, we're consolidating. Now we go to a lower time frame, find the trend. Bam, there's the uptrend, right? Because we have a low, higher low, extension. So this could be a high. So what do you think I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for confirmation of this trend to change. Which then, if we're looking at the 5-minute, here it is, which is what I was waiting for all fucking day long. Fuck you assholes. Cool deal. Gamer, what questions you got? Think it's about to change? Absolutely. That's going to be paired with, so right here, you got to kind of work it backwards. But so you see this right here? This is an uptrend, right? Let's go back to this chart. This is an uptrend. Because you see, right? Would you agree to me that this is an uptrend? Just going to ask you that. Yes. Cool. Okay. So if we see, and I don't care what name you use, but what is this? What part of the trend is this? Impulse? Impulse is fine. Extension's another word that I had been saying, but yeah, impulse, I'd say it, yeah. Impulse, up move, right, whatever. Extension, yeah, I mean, I know what you meant, so yeah, right? Okay, so what comes after the extension? One of my favorite words. Except every time you spell it, people, the fucking Mac is like, you spelled it wrong. It's like, no, fuck, I didn't. Yeah, retracement. Okay. So, if we retrace to here, is that still technically an uptrend? Cool. Yeah. So, but wait. Okay. I'm waiting. I have a feeling I know exactly what you're about to ask me. I really do. Let's say if I'm right or wrong. Yeah. And that's where you wait for that two-step confirmation. So if we come down here and break a structure, we'll explain this a lot more, and so we'll like building shit with it. So here's an example, and I'll go back. We'll replay this real quick. So if we know, hypothetically, It's a really bad example because today sucked. But if we know that this is an uptrend, this is also the extension, right? Yeah, that's the extension, impulse move, whatever. So what's bound to come? The retracement. So you watch. And the other thing is you want to find a spot to pull back for. And now we are getting way ahead of ourselves here because how you pair trend with other things for entries is using building blocks, right? So I'll give you a little sneak peek. Equilibrium from the current previous low right here to the high, bam, right? So then you want to find equilibrium. Okay, there's equilibrium. Okay, then you also want to find another one with equilibrium, like fair value gap. So then if I click it, bam, we come down. Let's go to 1 minute. Okay, now you see that we are low-key potentially forming a downtrend. Look at it again. I'm really hoping for a red candle here. Give me a red. I have no idea if this happens or not. I feel like it does. Bang. Okay. So we are in a 1 minute time frame and we are still in a downtrend. This is currently the previous lower high, but it looks like we're starting to create a lower or higher low, right? So this is what I would call a wedge, right? That's kind of confirming. Bam. That's the break of structure. Okay. Break a structure and change a character. You could either long it off of that or wait for another confirmation like a pullback, right? So either one, you either long there or you now look for a tap into this one, rinse and repeat to the lower time frames. See if we get it. Bam. And then ideally, could be wrong here. I could just get absolutely stopped out on this example, which would be hilarious. And let's see. Am I getting crushed? I am. Right, so you're looking for it to trend change to confirm off of that fair value gap, but this is just not giving you anything. And that right there is what I would call chop, right? Because it's both. Lows and higher lows. Now it's wedging. Right? Really bad example because it is after hours. After hours sucks. But you just start to pair it with other stuff, right? So if we stick to that 5 minute one, right, you can see. And then also, if you just trade off the 5 minute, 15 minute low, high, higher low, lower high. So right here is the break of structure. You get the pullback into it long, right? If you said fuck the 1 minute. Because that's exactly what we just did. Basically just on a 5 minute downtrend. Change of structure, right? Because we broke past the previous high. Retracement into a building block and equilibrium for look for long. Right. The only thing that would make this better is if we had swept this liquidity, but we did not. We did sweep this liquidity, so it's a decent trade. But it is after hours, so the moves are very mellow. Does it make any sense? I know my example kind of fucks with you, or kind of fucked it up, but once you see, like, let's say this comes down, we're still in an uptrend. We want to see it break through these lows, ideally, right here. And then that's step one, right? So step one, first step of change of something, change of trend. Then we look for the second one, retracement leg, creating a lower high. And this can be paired with, like, let's say a fair value gap or equilibrium or something that we find in the mix. And then you look to enter there and risk down, right? Okay. But waiting for that two-step confirmation is going to be key because this is step one, lower low. And then step two, lower high. And then you would pair it with a building block. So why is this red line the lower low? So, great question. I think I understand what you're saying. You're asking me why is this the higher low for this uptrend? Go to the line chart. That's a really bad example. That actually low-key helps a lot. Hakanashi candles for the win. So look right here. You see a bunch of green candles and then this red. Bunch of green candles, bam. Right, so that is not actually, let's go to the 2 minute. Maybe it shows it a little better. Not really. I think 5 minutes away. Because this is the current low. So in the uptrend, we have start point, extension, retracement, extension, retracement, extension, retracement, right? So why is this red line the lower low, not the candle before that? So technically, as of right now, this is the lower, this is the low. The low of this trend, because it's a two-part trend, if you would. Extension, one retracement, extension. That's it. So far, this is all we have. So in this entire uptrend, we have one extension, or one retracement, one low, other than the start low. So we have start, low, current. So that is, so to make it easier, I felt like there was more to that. Maybe that was what you basically summing up what I'm saying. Once the trend comes down to change direction, the change again to up direction is where we plot. Yes, yes, right? So if we look at this trend, if I delete or hide this again, this is the high. Low, high, low, high. And then now we should be forming either a higher low, right? Because we're in an uptrend, or changing character, right? Now it's predicting the exact future. I'm not very good at that. Perfect. You're 100% clear. I love that. Okay, cool. I'm glad as fuck to hear that. Yeah, let's go. Right, so what is, so far, if we want to just read real time, what are we seeing right now? We are seeing the retracement, right? Now, how did I know? Why did I think, sorry, I need to row, yada, 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 I missed my flight. Yeah, get the fuck out of here, dude, go! There would be, you can watch the later part. I'll explain what I was about to say, and then I'm ending everything, and you can rewatch this another time. No, bro, don't even worry about it. Make your flight. Get the fuck out of here. You're good, you're good, you're good. Of course, enjoy your flight. Safe travels, my friend. No, don't, bro. Of course, man, anytime. I'm glad you're here. I'll see you, gamer. Okay, the last point I was going to make, though, is how did I know that this would possibly be the spot of a rejection, like the high of the uptrend, is because if we go back to that 1 hour, we're in a downtrend. So 1 hour downtrend, 15-minute chop, which just, like, I wish I could just delete all of this. Like, if we low-key replaced this with this and just deleted, copy, paste, delete, all of that, or I guess just not even, just delete. I wish I could do that. I really do, because that would be such a perfect example of everything. Right, so just in your mind, ignore all of the chop from today. Fucking chop. It would be the retracement, right? So 15-minute, still in a downtrend, 5-minute uptrend into a potential rejection spot, right? Based on the building blocks, because we had the 15-minute fair value gap, which we'll get into this later. And then we go into a 5-minute fair value gap, right? And if we look on the overall higher, the 15-minute trend, we got the high, the low, lower high, right? So possible pivot point to push us back down to create a lower low, right? Ran out of chart room, but yeah, good point. which would align once again with the 1 hour trend. Right? See how this all starts to come together? Cool deal. Gamer left. So if you made it to this far in the lesson, you are absolutely dedicated, and I'm dedicated enough to send my own brother to voicemail, which would not be the first time. Cool deal. I'm going to wrap this up, get this posted. If it comes out late in the night, I apologize because I'm going to play in a chess tournament. Hopefully I don't get my cheeks clapped, but we shall find out. Appreciate you guys. Hope you had a good day. Better day in the market than I did, because fuck chop. Take that lesson away. You don't want to lose $2,000 in one day? Don't play around in chop. I'll give you one little Easter egg if you made it this far. Chop. Days like this with chop actually have the highest probability to make you blow an account. Let me say that again. Choppy days have the highest probability of chop, or of you blowing your account. Okay? It's not directional moves of, oh, I'm wrong, and it continues to go higher. It's chop. The two reasons behind that, and we'll go over this in psychological hurdles, is because you think naturally the market has to do X. Right? Market don't got to do shit. The market is not your, can't say that, but the market is not there to please you. It can do whatever the hell it wants. It could shoot up 1,000 points right now if it's so happily pleased. Okay? We are spectators and reactors. We are not predictors, and definitely not forcers of, hey, this market has to do this. So, I cannot express this enough. Well, I can show you my fucking negative $2,000 P&L from today. If you don't believe me, it should still be, because the day hasn't technically rolled over. Somebody's going to figure out my password. Account summary, $2,062.50 from today. There's no lie. I wasn't lying to you. And it all came from chop. So, that and stupid trading. Let there be a lesson for me and you both. So, appreciate you guys hanging out. Stay away from chop. Stay away from chop. Stay away from chop. Stay away from chop. Stay away from